All you cool people, you better leave now because it's about to happen.
Friday night and I'm riding solo. When I touch down, give it on the low low. I don't mess with your energy. No photos.
Hey, God, what a week, huh? What a week. All right, hey, welcome to GVE Finance. This is Rob V and Hit the Post, and Bono James is going to be, hopping on later. We're happy to be on GVE. We're happy to have Hit the Post as a producer, and make the MVP move. Go to youreadeadman.com and buy some merchandise. Don't be a dope of the day, and go to 7-Eleven and play the Robbie V economic plan of $20 on 2-spot Keno. It's not going to work out for you. And with that, let's just get to the show.
And Robbie, we didn't even plan this. You got a bluish purple shirt on there. I got the purple GVE summer shirt on here.
It's good, I just pulled this out of nowhere. I don't know. Hey, I got my blue shirt. It's probably 3 years
Stuff
old.
on the back too.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's why. So
One of my favorite shirts.
So go out and buy the shirt, Gosh. So, well, first off, guys, I guess, let's talk about the topic of the day. Recession. And everyone's, it's been a heavy debate about, are we in a recession or are we not in a recession? And what the definition of an actual recession is. And, and I think that our viewers need to know that, we are definitely in the standard, definition of a recession that's been that way for 70 years, which is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth.
It was the last 20 times that we've had 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP growth have been labeled recessions. The last 20.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden we're start hearing about how it's not, and how this isn't really a recession. My take is it definitely is. You look across the board of the numbers that have come out this week. The Dallas Fed, the Philly Fed, all their manufacturing indexes have gone to hell. They're all really negative, very negative. And they also the existing home sales are off by 20% year over year in June. All those signs lead to to show us that yes, we are actually in a recession. And yeah, this isn't one of those, as I say, it's the new way of thinking. It's just the old way of thinking worked fine, and we are in a recession.
Now, I read something. I'm not a homeowner. I rent my apartment, so I'm not as up on this. But I read something that housing demand, construction would need to increase by like 300% to meet the demand.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's accurate. There's so many because land is finite, and I mean, even around where I live right now, I mean, I know of at least 3 apartment buildings that have gone up around me in my general area in the past about 7 years, including the one I was talking about a couple episodes ago where they cut down all the trees, but they still haven't really done anything. So it's interesting. But yeah, no, there's definite demand. Apartment rent right now is, unfortunately, it keeps going up, and it's definitely hurting people and whatnot. And it's not, I think what you're going to see in the future in regards to the recession is, you're going to see continued contraction, of economic growth, manufacturing, services, and it'll definitely continue within the third and the fourth quarter. And maybe next year we might get out of it, but I really don't know. But good old Jay Powell had a lot to say this week. a lot to say.
I'd argue he didn't have a lot to say.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think we've talked about it on the show that the Fed funds rate was going to go up 0.75. That was my prediction. I actually was hoping it was going to be a point because I think that's what we need. But he did 0.75.
That's what I was expecting. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And then after the press conference, you know, he didn't really present that. He presented a very muddled picture of what he's going to do. He took the Biden way out, and he said that we're not in a recession, right? You know, this isn't a recession. He did not mention the word recession once, I believe. You know, he dodged that. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, he dodged using that word like Muhammad Ali used to dodge right hooks. I mean, you know, it's just like ridiculous. Let's just call it what it is.
I have a compilation of May, June, and yesterday's addresses from Jerome Powell. A little bit of a long video. I know some people in our sphere don't like the long videos, but let's just compare these three speeches that Jerome Powell gave.
The details of today's meeting, I'd like to take this opportunity to speak directly to the American people. Inflation is much too high, and we understand the hardship it is causing, and we're moving expeditiously to bring it back down. We have both the tools we need and the resolve that it will take to restore price stability on behalf of American families and businesses. The economy and the country have been through a lot over the past 2 years and have proved resilient. It is essential that we bring inflation down if we are to have a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all.
So that was 3 months ago.
One overarching message. We at the Fed understand the hardship that high inflation is causing. We're strongly committed to bringing inflation back down, and we're moving expeditiously to do so. We have both the tools we need and the resolve that it will take to restore price stability on behalf of American families and businesses. The economy and the country have been through a lot over the past 2.5 years and have proved resilient. It is essential that we bring inflation down if we are to have a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. Good afternoon.
It says today. This is from yesterday.
Yeah.
My colleagues and I are strongly committed to bringing inflation back down, and we're moving expeditiously to do so. We have both the tools we need and the resolve it will take to restore price stability on behalf of American families and businesses. The economy and the country have been through a lot over the past 2.5 years and have proved resilient. It is essential that we bring inflation down to our 2% goal if we are to have a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all.
This is a speechwriter.
So in case you didn't tune in last month, I'm going to say the same thing. And in case you missed the last two, I'm going to say it again.
That is. I mean, Powell, I mean, we've talked about this. He's in an impossible spot, and we all know that. But, like, and what I mean by that is, and we've gone over this, like the election and whatnot, and Biden's obviously, I think, hit the post, and I'm pretty sure Bono James agrees. I mean, they need to keep raising point. You know, the next Fed meeting, I know that the future Fed funds rate, they're saying it's going to be it might be 0.50. I mean, they need to go a point. I mean, you know, look at, and you know, look, the evidence I have on that is, look at Germany. Germany today, you know, their inflation number was terrible, and everyone's talking, and you know, and all these numbers are coming in all over the world. It's like somebody needs to get a hold of it. I mean, we need to get a hold of this. And I admire Powell's like awesome, you know, being a great orator, you know, saying basically the same thing 3 months in a row, which is, I mean, at least it changed on the 2.5 years, you know, when it was in June, which was nice.
And we mentioned Germany maybe last week or 2 weeks ago about their lumber situation. The only thing I really followed German markets for is they opened before the U.S.
Yeah.
So if I've got some insomnia, I'll check out how the German markets are just to get a sneak peek of what may be to happen for our trading day.
Yeah, no, I mean, Europe usually is a good indication of how we're going to open, especially lately with everything that's going on.
And something to note with that, if you're watching a ticker in the German market and in like a 5-minute interval, there's no volume change, but there's a price change. It's just because there's other exchanges that are trading that security. That's all.
No, absolutely. But, you know, and I think when we talk about, we talk about Powell and we talk about how he's caught in a tight spot. What we really haven't gone over is like, what is this interest rate hike, the 0.75? What is that going to do for like, guys like, who are watching, who are viewers and who are watching? So first things first, so what does this even mean? Like, all right, the Fed funds rate up 0.75. So what is it? What is the Fed funds rate? It's the overnight lending rate that banks can loan to each other. And now that's up to 2.50. So what basically that means is that banks now, instead of paying 1.75, paying interest 1.75, they're paying out 2.5%. So since they're obviously going to have to charge each other more for interest and they're going to have to pay more, they're going to be less apt to like lend out money for things that you see every day, like commercial projects, a building of a new store, apartment projects, capital investment, and other things. Now, things that affect you and me, okay. Everyone probably on this, who's watching, owns a credit card. Yeah, your credit card rate is probably going to go up by maybe not 0.75, but it's going to go up 0.50 or whatnot. It's going to go up a couple percentage points.
Costs more to borrow money.
Yeah, costs more to borrow money, basically. Your car loans cost more to borrow money. The one thing that it's not going to affect is your mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are not affected by the Fed funds rate. They're mostly affected by the 10-year bond and the movements of the 10-year bond yield going. Obviously, if it goes up, the yield goes up because people are selling off. Then the mortgage 30-year mortgage is going to go up. If it goes down because people are buying bonds, then 30-year mortgages are going to go down. I don't want anyone out there to think like, hey, like the Fed funds rate just went up to like whatever, 2.5, and all of a sudden my mortgage rate's just gonna, if they're thinking of buying a house, it's gonna go up they're gonna go up 0.75 overnight. That's not how that works. So you don't have to panic on that. How this obviously, basically to wrap this up, how this decreases the economic activity is the more cost to borrow money, the more people are going to be paying for interest charges. They're going to borrow less. They're going to make less purchases. And eventually, yes, it's going to slow down economic activity. There was a case study on this. Not case study. I think it was just a general rule of thumb. How long does it take for an interest rate to, take effect on the economy? The general rule of thumb is 6 to 9 months. So you really won't see this impact until probably, a couple months down the line, say November, December, January. Yeah. And granted, that's a long a big spectrum, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
While we're talking banks, I saw Credit Suisse. I posted in our chat. If you're out there listening, if you want to get in the finance chat, message either of us and we'll get you in there. I saw Credit Suisse. They projected a Q2 loss of a little over 240 million with an M. Yeah. And they ended up having a Q2 loss of 1.6 billion. So more than 1.4 billion on top of what they projected. And their stock price went up 5% yesterday. Thought that was astonishing.
I know. And that, I'm glad you brought that up because we've talked about this in the chat. And
you project to lose 240 million and you lose 8 times that and your stock price goes up.
Yeah.
People are saying it's priced in. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't really get that. One of the things that's been kind of hard for, I think I can speak for all of us to wrap our heads around what's going on in the market is usually like since the interest rates are going higher, there's going to be, economic contractions happening. Corporate earnings have not been that great. I mean, yes, there are some companies that are blowing it out of the water. Amazon today did great.
Beat revenues.
Great revenues. And I think Apple beat today too. Intel, I don't know what's going on with them. I think they're getting shellacked. They didn't have a good day. But it's been hard I think it's probably hard for a lot of people to grasp that.
Apple was right on with their revenue.
They were right on.
0.01% a miss. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah, I know. I remember the days you missed by 0.01, you'd be like down 10%, like on Instinet back in 95. But that's a whole nother story.
Intel missed by 14.5%, and their stock price only dropped 1% today.
Probably after I was getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, down 8%. Sorry, I missed that.
No, don't worry about it. No, and so I guess it's with all this, with all the economic contraction, all these bad earnings, you're probably wondering, like, okay, Robbie V, why is the market going up? Like, what are we doing here? So the reason why the market is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people believe that the market is going up is because Powell, during his press conference, a lot of people look to the Fed for forward guidance, and the fact that Powell did not say anything about hey, we're going to continue raising interest rates 0.75 a month next Fed meeting, and after that, I think a lot of people looked like, hey, like the rate the raising of interest rates is over, and a lot of the Fed futures markets that you can on the CME are now calling for rate cuts in I think it's like January, February 2023. And I think a lot of people are looking at that and being like, all right, well, we're almost out of this. But holistically, when you look at it, I don't think that a lot of people should look at it that way. I mean, we're definitely in tough times, and I don't really see and we could be even more tougher depending on various factors and what's going on, domestically in our own country, obviously, and worldwide. It's very it's very interesting times right now, and there's not much. No one, I don't think anyone really has a good grasp of what's going to happen. Definitely in the next couple of years. I mean, couple of months, Jesus. So that if you're wondering that why the market is going up, that is one school of thought of why the market is going up right now. There's other schools of thought of I think it's important is that what's going on, and we've talked about what's going on over in Europe, and there have been some other developments that have been going on in Europe. The Nord Stream 1 pipeline, which we went over, it's a pipeline from Russia to Germany, and it kind of spaghetti is like to all these other different storage tanks. Their natural gas was actually cut further from 40% capacity of the pipeline, and now only 20% of the capacity of the pipeline is basically flowing. So Europe,
Crazy.
It is crazy because Europe, the EU now has to implement a 15% reduction across the board, which is going to hurt their economy, no doubt, and it's going to kill demand, and electricity prices are going to go through the roof. And to your point earlier, hit the post, I'm sure that a lot of people are looking at their maple trees and being like, hey, I need to saw this up. But I don't know if I don't know how much into firewood hit the posts or even our viewers are. You can't just to put it lightly, you cannot just chop a tree down and have it burn hot. It's gonna It takes a year and a half to age, and I know this because I have two stacks in my backyard. So, and it definitely takes time, and I can tell you from personal experience that not dried out wood does not burn that hot. So Germany, I don't think that's like the end all be all solution for their problems.
I think I learned that in like Cub Scouts. I grabbed like a branch off a tree and tried to toss in the fire. My dad's like, "That's not going to burn." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's wood." It's like, watch. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't catch on fire.
No, I know, and I mean, and a lot of stuff like with like that's an uncertainty. That's definitely like an uncertain factor. When you're coming to macro, like the macro picture. Coming down the line. I mean the other issue too. I mean, talking domestically is. If oil prices go up, a lot of people have not put a dime in their oil account, for the summer. That's going to hurt consumer spending. That's going to hurt like consumer demand, because you're going to be paying a lot, basically double what you paid like last year to heat your house or, natural gas. Yeah, no. And I think, I don't think a lot of the market's really factoring in those factors. It's not to say that the market can't go up, but it's just there. I don't think people should look at the last like 2 500-point rises and say, "Hey, we're out of the woods yet." And I think that's a fair assessment.
It's a good point. it's not to say that the market can't go up, but there is a long way to go down.
Yeah, if if things, if the factors don't line up correctly.
Not to be a total bear, like I'm bullish on
Oh,
certain things,
oh
but
yeah, absolutely.
you look at things and there's a long way to go down.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think a lot of people, like especially with housing. I mean, I think that 20 when we talked about like when people talk about GDP, um, with the viewers and whatnot, and our viewers should know that the first GDP number that came out today that put us in the the traditional
We'll call it a recession.
yeah, I'll call it a traditional definition of a recession. There is a second number that comes out, and that is the final number. It's like the final print GDP. So I don't think that I don't know if that the initial number that we received today really had the whole gamut of like like we talked about before, like the Philadelphia Manufacturing Index, the Dallas Manufacturing Index, housing start, the existing home sales. I mean, those are down 20%. And when you have so many home sales that are getting canceled anyway, I mean, a lot of those might not be factored in. So I don't think 0.9 is going to be the final number. I think we'll probably see maybe 0.5, 0.4. I mean, negative 1.5, maybe negative 2.
Right, but still declining.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you have to, unless Powerball is going to, stimulate the economy somehow. I don't think we're getting out of this traditional recession. DePost, you want to talk about GME? Seems to be a weekly segment.
I would love to. Thank you so much. So we mentioned Intel, Amazon, Apple. Just looking at my notes, that represents 20% of the S&P. So with Amazon and Apple jumping today, that bodes well, I think. GME had an interesting week. Got some notes here. Let's take a look. Before I touch on that, just a couple things going back since last time we went on. I saw that Redbox went up 90+% on 3 days ago, the 25th. Most major brokers turned off the buy button. Not good. And then the following day, the 26th, saw $1 million of $130 puts on Walmart, like 10 minutes before market closed. And then they announced that they were revising their profit projections, and their stock price tanked, and that lucky trader made 10x their bet in under an hour. Jesus. Thought that was crazy. Another ticker I wanted to highlight. I know a lot of our listeners are big radio fans. Odyssey under $1 could get delisted if it stays long enough under $1.
Yeah.
All right, so on to GameStop, what I like talking about. So 2 days ago, the 26th, I saw that back in November 21st or November 2021, GameStop had published a trademark for GS Kids. And what's interesting about that is the chairman of GameStop's board, Ryan Cohen, he's the founder of Chewy. You might be familiar with Chewy. Took it from, I think, $300 million to a $5 billion company. Genius, in my opinion. He wrote a letter to the Bed Bath & Beyond board not quite a year ago, maybe several months ago. And he also has a large stake in Bed Bath & Beyond. He wrote a letter to their board and cited that their kids line, Bye Bye Baby, was a profitable entity for them, and they should look to sell it to raise capital. And I just think that's interesting that he's linked to both companies. He thinks you should sell it. They got that trademark, GameStop Kids. I saw a Canadian GameStop photo with the GS Kids outside their store. So I think that's a bullish indicator. What else we got? I saw an article that yesterday. No. This was 2 days ago, the 26th. It was about Alphabet and Microsoft, how they missed earnings. And the title of the article included a quote, "Investors give a pass to earnings misses from Alphabet and Microsoft." I just thought that was total horseshit. Credit Suisse. So yeah, that they had a $14 billion market cap, projected to lose 243 million in Q2. Actually lost 1.6 billion. Their CEO is leaving for a bad replacement. Their CFO is leaving with no replacement. Stock price went up. Here's that GameStop kids. Can't really
say a little bit.
Yeah, I can post that in the chat or something like that. So back to GameStop. Yesterday, a top 10 lowest volume day. What does this mean? It's shares that are being traded. And why is a low volume day interesting for GameStop? So last Friday they did their, I called it a splividend, which is they issued shares in the form of a dividend, effectively splitting their stock. So for every one share you owned, you got 3 extra. So a 4-for-1. Now, it's interesting to me that a company that 4x's their shares suddenly has a drop off in volume. You know, there's 300 million or so shares out there, and yesterday was 4.186 million. Today was the lowest volume since October 2015 for GameStop. I don't know what's going on. I've read reports that some international GameStop holders have still not received their dividend shares. These are getting pushed back.
That's not good at all.
Yeah, I think these brokers are. It's the simplest way I can put it is, you know, you owe money on your credit card, so you open up a new credit card and you pay that one off, and then but you're not doing anything because you still owe that money to somebody.
No,
and
exactly.
I think they're just borrowing shares from someone to give them to somebody else, and you still owe it eventually. And it's directly registered shares. I've mentioned that a couple times. There's models that have predicted the total direct registered shares of GameStop, and GameStop every earnings report has begun. I think the last 3, maybe 4, I'm not positive on that. At least the last 3 times they've issued an earnings report have cited how many directly registered shares they have. It's speculated that half the float is locked up in directly registered shares. What that means is they're pulled out of the DTC and these cannot be borrowed. So why is that important? Is somebody who's short selling a stock, they need to borrow it. So if you wanted to short GameStop and I have it, you would borrow it from me and then you would sell it to somebody else, eventually having to give it back to me and, you know, that other person. It's just a whole mess. And I found a video, because shares are not supposed to be, if you have a cash account, shares are not supposed to be lent out of a cash account. If you have a margin account, brokers are allowed to lend out those shares. And I found this is an attorney. His name's Wes Christian. Sounds like the Texas man he is. And here's him explaining that cash shares actually are being lent out.
In addition to lending their clients margin shares, which, don't forget, each one of you out there who signs a margin agreement, it gives them contractually the right to lend your shares. Another thing that you'll see in the enforcement actions, which we've seen in cases, is they're using cash account shares. Cash account shares in the states are protected by Rule 15C33. And in doing so, that rule says the cash account shares, that is, shares that aren't leveraged in a margin account, have to be segregated in the United States. They can't be touched. The broker can't do anything to encumber them. Well, guess what? Those shares are likewise being used.
Which is kind of scary, because you think, okay, I got these shares in my account. It's a cash account. They're not being lent out. Yeah. But really what your broker's doing is lending those out, and they're just updating your account balance with a fake number. I think it's all IOUs. It's going to be bad. I should have clipped. I've been watching this guy on YouTube. If you're interested in learning more about GameStop, he does a daily video. His name's Richard Newton. He's here on YouTube. Does a much better breakdown of what I do. He's got visuals and stuff like that. I'll try to get a clip of him for next time because he explains this much better than I do. He's a math teacher. But just one other thing I wanted to touch on with GameStop before I wrap up is, I think it's really weird that mainstream media is constantly telling me one side of the narrative. Just a couple headlines all telling us to forget GameStop. And, I get it. People laugh and why do you want to invest in GameStop and everything? Because the fundamentals don't make sense. This is a $5 stock 2 years ago, and it was shorted. People thought that it was going to go out of business. And now you have a lot of retail traders like myself that refuse to sell those shares. And you have a lot of short sellers that need to buy them back. And well, I'm not going to sell for, what's it today? $34 a share. I'm not going to sell for $34 a share. Well, I'm not going to sell for $100 a share. I'm not going to sell for $500 a share. Well, what if people don't sell for $2,000 a share? It eventually the price is going to have to keep going up and up. It's every red flag is going off on GameStop stock for a short squeeze. Moved to number 1 on the Gamma Squeeze list last week. I read about it every day. It's a crazy story. And with the split, shares aren't technically more affordable. One whole share is more affordable, but because a week ago, if I wanted to buy GameStop, it was $150 a share, and then it split 4 ways. Well, now I can get a share for $35, but I could have had 4 shares for $150. You know what I mean? It's all psychological.
Oh, absolutely. The stock splits are, they're basically get more people to buy the stock.
Right. It makes it more accessible for people. If you only got $50 in your account, you couldn't get GameStop before. Now you can get a whole share plus some fractionals if your broker allows that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do recommend not this is not financial advice, but just personally sounds like a good idea to me, was directly registering my shares in my name so they couldn't be lent out at my broker.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot
because the people who have their shares directly registered, they got their dividend because it came right from the transfer agent computer share.
Yeah.
And you got people with accounts in like international brokers like Interactive Brokers, IBKR. Some people still haven't gotten their dividend yet, and it's 6 days late.
It's insane. I mean, 6 days late, it's pretty ridiculous in any industry.
They should have been in there Friday morning.
No, I know. I mean, you would think that this would go seamlessly, but of course.
But it's my speculation that more shares exist than should. Probably. And that's through short selling. And then, I could pull some other stuff maybe for another episode, but you catch some of these analysts on CNBC and stuff talking about naked shorting. And that's, where you're shorted above 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And effectively what that would mean is the short sellers have shorted so many shares of GameStop that these additional shares on top of what should exist are also being held by retail. And you're just digging the hole. It's crazy.
Naked short selling is
illegal.
It is illegal, but it was definitely prevalent in 2008. I mean, there was a lot of great firms like Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They all got taken down by those guys who just, it just kept, the bad news kept coming. And then, there's a lot of people who made a lot of good money off that back in 2008. We're probably obviously not going to see that now, for God's sakes. But
I had one more thing. Let me pull this up because Sneaks was on a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and he asked, I did a little GameStop breakdown, and he asked, how is this going on? How is this still happening? And I mentioned that they could have been doing this with swaps. And so I found an explanation online. So let me just try to explain swaps here. Swaps are being used by big boys. These are somebody else's words, not mine. Swaps are being used by big boys to trade things without actually trading the underlying. They're owned by another form of derivatives, or they're almost another form of derivatives, and are complicated and dark by design. If party A wants to short sell GameStop but doesn't have any shares, they can't borrow or locate any and can't use options anymore, they can go find party B who has GameStop shares to swap those. And so they swap party B's stock with something else. So let's say AMC or something like that. So if party A has AMC, they're kind of trading in that same meme stock basket. Party A might say, I'll let you use my AMC shares if you let me use your GameStop shares in a swap. So party A, give me access to 100,000 GameStop shares. I'll give you access to equal market cap value worth of AMC and something else. Plus I'll give you X% interest. So party A that doesn't have the GameStop shares will pay interest and some amount of money every quarter for borrowing those. So party B would say to that, okay, but if the value of this swap becomes unbalanced because of a change in the market cap value of these companies, we want additional collateral or the contract's void and we get to keep all your shit. And party A would agree with that. That's obviously sketchy. And it's desperation on party A's end. And just wrapping this up. And party B is exposed to risk, but they're making a lot of fees for this because the cost to borrow for GameStop is out of this world. I think they're paying like a 30% markup on borrowing shares. And just one other thing to note, I keep saying one other thing. We lost our 100% utilization yesterday on a technicality. GameStop dropped to like 98.03% utilization. So not all the shares that were available to borrow were used to short the stock. So lost out on that 100% utilization streak, ended at 116 days, I believe. But we're getting into that territory where the put to call ratio on GameStop is not just going parabolic, it's going in a straight upward line. That's all I got today for GameStop. Thank you for giving me my time.
Oh, no problem. So one of the things that we always talk about, I think our gas price is going to go down more or have a flat line. So, High Volume Mike, I think depending on where you live, I believe that I think the price of unleaded on the CME right now is $3.40. I believe. And let me just do a quick check. I was looking at it today. I just didn't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, it's $3.46. So I think gas in the States is probably going to go down probably to $4 a gallon. At least I'm just talking in Massachusetts. Do I think it's going to go down more if we flatline? I honestly think we probably flatline for, OPEC right now is talking about how they want to put a price floor for oil, for Russian oil. But I think it was like $40 or $60 a barrel. That's only going to make the price of oil go up. $4 honestly could be the cheapest that we see for the foreseeable future until like the war in Ukraine gets resolved. Yeah, it's $4.27. Yeah, California, $5.66. Good luck. Have fun, Cali.
And Maine, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little skewed because I don't know how much unleaded gas. I do know where you live. Yeah, you might actually hit 390, 380 because of those two gas stations that are constantly at war with each other over price. I think the same can be said for home heating oil. The place that I go to is like $5 a gallon right now, and I think that's it's a $4.99, $5, whatever. I think that's probably the lowest you're going to see for quite some time until there's some stability. Yeah, $4.38. I know the place up the street from me is $4.40 something. I think it's $4.45. heating oil is definitely going to be a major cost driver. I think what's not really, what could really skyrocket, unfortunately, is natural gas and your electricity costs. If there is a shortage in Europe in natural gas, I think the United States will try to help out. But as a result of that, the cost natural gas that's used to heat all the power plants and produce electricity and whatnot will go up, and obviously
That's not
that
fair.
will be,
BJ's a membership, but they have cheap gas.
be passed. Those costs will be passed on. Oh yeah, good. I didn't know. Wow, 401. God, what's in the water in Haverhill? God, man, who knew? Let's know where they're getting that. But I think for your winter, natural gas is going to probably go up due to what's going on in Europe. Heating oil is probably going to stay about where it is, and or if not go up, and maybe it'll go down if the conflict in Ukraine stops. But why is Minot bragging about giving? I have no bleeping clue. Oh no. Well, yeah, good for him. Don't brag about things in life. I also think that I remember someone was talking the other day. We were talking about inflation. So when is inflation going to subside? I think hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months we'll start to see some leveling off of this. I'm actually interested to see what's going to happen with the CPI numbers for that come out in August for July. I don't know if you'll see like a big rebound. I mean, God forbid if it goes up, they'll have to do like an intra-Fed rate hike, which basically is meaning the next Fed meeting is in September. An intra-Fed hike would mean they hike in August, basically when there is no meeting, where they just randomly meet, and then they would hike up whatever they wanted to, if it was 0.5 or 0.75 or whatnot. It's definitely. There's a lot of things going on, and I think we hit upon like the same things. One thing that, when I can talk like statistics and numbers, but I think real world data also is important when you look at economics. Right now in Washington, D.C., 1 in 4 car loans is ready to be repossessed, which is basically a car gets repossessed when you're 90 days delinquent, and the repo man comes and you can either try to punch him in the face and see how that goes, or you just throw him the keys and make it a smooth transaction. I recommend
they'll get the door code.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend the latter. If you can't afford to pay your car, you probably can't afford a lawyer to get your ass out of jail in DC. It's probably these tips to life. I don't know. Don't clip that. And meaning like if people can't pay their cars and whatnot, then obviously they're not going to be able to pay. Not going to be able to do a lot of other things. So I don't know. I think the other interesting kind of thing to note is used car prices are still in the stratosphere from what I understand. I don't know if you've heard anything hit the post, but they're definitely not declining.
No.
And it's just a basic necessity for people. And the more money you're spending on a basic necessity item, you're not going to be able to stimulate the economy in other ways. I mean, speaking for myself, I bought when I had my wife and I were expecting. We bought our Toyota RAV, thank God, last year. I would actually be, I looked on a couple lots before the show just to see what I would be paying for the make and model and the mileage of my car. I'd be easily paying 12,000, 13,000 more. So, you get lucky sometimes, I guess. I don't know. But, see, and we've also, to kind of give you guys an update, something that we've talked about is the protests in the Netherlands about the nitrogen emissions. They're still ongoing, but unfortunately, other world governments such as Canada and Ireland are trying to institute those same nitrogen cuts for emissions for farmers, and those farmers are starting to protest again. It really doesn't make much sense to me. We keep talking about food shortages, and you hear it all the time in the media. Why would we want to put more farmers out of business? You're starting to see in Great Britain, they have a program where they will basically buy the land of the farmers, and they claim it's to just get younger people in the industry. But I think there's much worse intentions.
Younger people in the industry. I don't think young people are getting into the farming industry unless
Yeah,
their parents have a farm.
Yeah, I mean, Great Britain has other things to worry about, like, you know.
I mean, look at Sheldon from North Dakota. I think he said on the All Aboard podcast that he started with just one cow.
I know.
Or one. No, it must have been one cow, not a bull.
Or maybe like an acre.
Maybe he did start with a bull. I can't remember what he said. But he started with one cattle.
Yeah. Blue hairs have much of it.
Nice cut my hair today.
I have not cut my hair. Never happens if Kanye is in office. I remember that. I just wanted to open it up in the chat. Does anyone have any questions they want answered? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much help I can be. I'm pretty focused on GameStop. It's my only holding. I read about it every day. You know, people might not want to hear about it all the time, but at least I can give you good analysis on what's happening with one company. Speaking of, here's that GameStop kids photo.
Oh, nice.
So fresh.
Yeah, it is fresh. I mean, it's definitely not the Social Plaza, I'll tell you that much. But, yeah.
That is in, I can't remember the city, but it's in Ontario.
Oh,
Canada.
Okay.
And they're even doing if people still play Pokemon Go, they're gonna have a Pokestop there at the GameStop. Come out and play. I think that's bullish stuff.
I never got into the whole Pokemon Go craze.
I was into it when I lived in Connecticut. I was working there. I didn't really have any friends at all. My sister lived in the next town over, and I started playing just to get out of my apartment. Because if I didn't go to the store or something, I wasn't gonna leave my apartment. So I play Pokemon Go, get some exercise.
Nice. I didn't know you lived in Connecticut. Oh.
Yeah, I lived in Bridgeport. Don't recommend it.
Oh. Yeah, I've always lived on. Trying to decide on a new hat. Any good suggestions? You know how to Mike? You know what is a bad investment right now? It's probably a Red Sox hat, especially after they got shellacked. Freaking, what was it, 28-5 or something like 27-5, 28-5, I mean, they're still freaking picking home run balls out of the parking garage, for God's sakes, across the street. If that still even exists. No, it doesn't, so whatever. Yeah, rest in peace. Paid $30 to get in there once. Anyway. The other have Sox hat? Need a classic. I don't know. Kansas City Royals is always a good thing. That ballpark is great, by the way. It's good. It's a good time.
I could see High Blind Mike with a Marlins hat, maybe.
Good too. I love the Marlins. Sexually called their World Series.
Dodgers is a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic. Dodgers is a damn good classic. I think when we, when we talk about like economics and and whatnot, I think a lot of people look at it, as it's all these like big numbers and big, indexes and stuff like that. I mean, some of the best information about the economy is the information you get on the ground. If you like seriously, like, the talk, like being a talking head is great, but if you're not like going out to restaurants, if you don't observe like stuff when you drive by, and certain businesses are now closed and they were open about 10 years, 2 years ago before COVID. I mean,
or they're not open as many days. Wasn't Kirk just talking about that? Like, can't go to Halfway Cafe. Like, they might be closed on Friday.
Oh, I know. I mean, High Blind Mike knows about this. I mean, the Abington Ale House was a staple on 18. And all of a sudden now that's closed Monday and Tuesdays. It's in a lot of other restaurants. The place up the street from me, I mean, they're open now like Wednesday to Sunday. People don't have the extra cash. I mean, yeah,
my parents come to town. They're like, "Hey, let's go out to eat somewhere," and you got to pick and choose because a lot of places might be closed on this Saturday or Sunday.
I know, and some people say like
or not open when they're in town. Don't open until 4. They're here at noon.
Yeah, I mean, and some people say like, well, Yeah, we are down to one friendlies in Weymouth. It's not even that good, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, they fucked up my order on freaking DoorDash the other night. Or it was like, it was 2 weeks ago. Who in God's name knows? I don't think our viewers give a damn. No, I mean, so like, I guess like predictions. You know, Robbie, if you had $1,000, what would you throw? What would you, how long is this going to last, and what would you be throwing it on? So, I guess as of right now, if I had it, I think the Fed is going to raise by 0.75. I think they stick with that, right? Okay, third quarter. Economic activity, we're still continuing the contraction. Yeah, third quarter, we're definitely going to be contracting. Do I think it's going to expand more than 0.9? Yeah, I'm saying negative 1.5 initial print, maybe two on the final print, and I do believe that negative 2, because you're just starting to see the housing crisis. Not crisis. It's just starting to see housing start to go down. You're starting to see the real implications of like interest, higher interest rates. What else would make me believe that? If you look today, I don't know if you saw it hit the post, but car sales are down 15% in July. That's real. I mean,
and we talked last week about BlackRock posting the largest loss for a single firm over a 6-month span over the first half of 2022. Just to reiterate from last week, in case you weren't here, they lost $1.7 trillion.
Yeah. And the other thing,
and that's incredibly scary, because they own a ton of homes. What if they have to liquidate to cover margin calls? Like, do you sell assets? Like, who's going to buy them?
Yeah. No, I know. And I think like the other thing, I don't think many people are like, people are talking about, like, real estate prices are going down. I mean, there's just a lot of headwinds. I don't know if it's dovish. Do I think the market goes up from here? Like, as of right now, next week, do I think the market's going to go up? I don't know. I mean, it's just so crazy. But those are my two predictions. I'm saying a 0.75, September rate increase, and I'm saying negative 2 on the third quarter. Mark that down, clip it. I don't care what. That's what I think. And when you come and you watch the show, you want someone to actually put some stones out there. And, I mean, this isn't Jim Fossil. I mean, God.
Yeah, not financial advice.
Yeah, it's not financial advice, but might as well get a little Jim Fossil, and less inspiring, of course, when Jim is yelling at the New York media on a fucking random Monday.
Good market strategy is to fade whatever Jim Cramer's touting, go against whatever he likes, go against whatever he likes, and buy whatever he hates, and then just follow whatever Nancy Pelosi does.
Yeah.
Her husband, excuse me.
Your husband, yeah.
Well, did you see they plan to issue legislation to restrict family members of government officials from selling stock?
So I did. And
I mean, that's just a nothing burger. We plan to introduce legislation that might get passed. Yeah, right. These are the same people that they issued legislation preventing the Fed from making trades, and they did all those trades right before the pandemic hit. So
I know,
and they're all walking clean.
I actually think that bill has a chance in hell in passing. I do.
Well, yeah, because I think people, especially retail traders that are active on like Reddit, stuff like that, Twitter, FinTwits, they're really fed up with Nancy Pelosi's husband there making millions and millions of dollars. He puts in that trade like a week before they pass the bill on the superconductors or whatever. The chips.
I know. I think a lot of people are just fed up in general, just because the people, Dems need a win. They need to do something. I mean, Quinnipiac, what is it, 31% last week? I don't know what it was this week. I mean, I don't follow. I got fucking Victoria. I got better shit to do than freaking follow the Quinnipiac presidential approval polls. Sorry guys. I mean, it is what it is. But I just, I guess if you're gonna close it out, just keep tuning in. It's just starting to get interesting. There's no doubt about that. I mean, August, yeah, it's a slow time for the market, but there's a lot of developments going on over domestically and foreign, where, and whatever, domestic and foreign, where a lot of news is dropping, a lot of things are happening. Keep tuning in. And High Blind Mike, yes, it is football season. And football season's almost here. Which, I'm excited. I'm excited. I think GVE should have a football show, to be honest, college and NFL. That's just.
I definitely plan on bringing Profit Picks at 6 over to the network. I don't think it's right to be selfish and keep that on my personal YouTube.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Oh. Well, guys, it's 8:57.
Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't get Boner Jams in today. I think he's working late tonight. Also, he's, I believe, out in Western Canada, so a different time zone.
Yeah.
I know people like, I definitely like his insight, but unfortunately not able to join us. He said he's reviewing Q2 earnings here. So
yeah, he was on last night on one of the talk space. It was really,
I saw that.
Yeah, I did you listen? Were you listening when I made a comment?
I just saw that it was going on. I didn't.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
I'm usually it's so over my head. Like, I like to listen to it and educate myself, but I mean, I'm just not going to be investing in that right now because I believe so strongly in GameStop.
No, absolutely. Well, all right, guys. Well, I hope everyone's had a good. Hope everyone's enjoyed the show. We appreciate all the comments. We appreciate all the viewers, and have a good night. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
All you cool people, you better leave now because it's about to happen.
Friday night and I'm riding solo.